Assemble! Stay dandy, baby. The Crown Game comes to a glorious golden end in an exciting and action-packed episode of Tower of God. Hello, my friends, and welcome to another review of the Tower of God anime series. And this episode right here, for a lack of better phrase, kicked all sorts of ass. Some of the best action that I have seen from the series thus far, with a lot of amazing battles and a really great cliffhanger ending, showing that while Bam might be kind of a timid character, he is definitely holding back a lot of superpower. So first, before I jump into my review, I just want to thank you guys for continuing to watch these reviews. It seems like every single review of Tower of God I do seems to get better than the last in terms of the comments, the likes, and the views. So thank you guys so much for tuning in and discussing this series along with me. Please just continue to watch these videos. Check out my Patreon, and please help support this channel. If you do so, I'll be able to do an anime request of your review. But let's just go ahead and jump into this episode right here. Tower of God, The Crown Game. It has an official conclusion in this episode, and it also has a few twists and turns, and even a little bit of mysterious intrigue by the end of the episode. So let's just talk about some of the biggest parts. The first half of the episode picks up from the end of the last one, where Bam and his team have now officially joined the Crown Game, and Bam is going to be sitting on the throne, wearing the crown, while Kun and Rak defend him against all of these crazy combatants. And this is a really great scene right here, if only for the fact that, again, we get to see all of these weird, like, humans and monsters and creatures battling against one another. And it is also officially confirmed that Kun's bag does have the ability to replicate objects. That's something that I theorized in the last episode with the fact that he seems to have an endless amount of chocolate bars. Another round of fighting begins, and we're introduced to a whole brand new group of characters. And in a really nice twist, we get to see that all of these people look like they're going to want to team up against Bam and his team, so that this way they can just eliminate them all together and get that crown. Where we get to see that there's this one three-man team who are actually the allies of Kun. And the reason for this is because in the very first part of the competition, when they had the big battle royale of going from 400 to 200 people, we got to see that there were these three opponents who were severely injured, and they were all sort of saved by Kun. And Kun's brilliant plan actually involves taking these injured people and placing him in his infinite space bag. And they're sort of going to act as like the bodyguards for Bam's team at this point. One, so that Kun can get a little bit of rest, and two, so we can establish a little bit more about what his bag can truly do. We also got back to that one scene where Han Song-yu actually mentions that his bag was really heavy. That's the reason. He realized that he has sort of smuggled some of these people inside of this bag, and these characters here, even though they don't really get to do much and we don't get their backstory, they're all really awesome. There's one martial artist with a mohawk, there's this one creepy girl who uses these like carry psychic abilities on people, and then there's just this really freaky ass bug man who just chokes people out with his tentacles. It's a really shocking and amazing scene, and again just proves how incredibly resourceful Kun is. I especially love how this entire plan was done without him actually even announcing anything. All he does is he takes that weird blue thing on his hair, which apparently is some sort of ribbon, and he ties it around and ties his hair up, and that was sort of the signal for all of these people to start attacking the other teams. It was clever, and it was a really great twist. But then we get to the big final round of the Crown Game, and this is where things just go insane. So I was really hyped to see that Rachel and her team were going to be a big part of this final round, as I immediately thought that they were just going to go right after Bam, and there was going to be like this big battle between those two teams. But actually, again, there was another twist for the episode. Apparently, they're going to be defending Bam while he's sitting on the throne while they fight against all of these other various teams, as well as Rak and Kun as well. And this definitely gives us, I think, some of the best action that I've seen from the series. The amount of amazing choreography here and really great character moments, honestly, I just cannot talk about them enough, so let's gush over it a little bit. First, there's that one mysterious girl who seems to have some sort of connection to a knock. Again, my current theory still is that she is one of the princesses of Jihad, and she's battling against that one mysterious girl who is wearing like the skin-tight outfit with a weird mask and a staff. And there's clearly something very important about this girl. As one, they're building her up in terms of what her abilities are, and they don't really want to reveal who she is quite yet. You do get to see a little bit of her by the end of the episode, but again, her skills are incredible as she not only does really great against battling against the creepy maybe princess girl, but she's able to hurt Rack a couple of times and even goes directly after Rachel, which leads to one of the biggest scenes of the episode. But before I even get to that, let me just talk about Kun's fighting style in this episode. Again, the fact that he has an infinite bag and can replicate objects just shows me that, man, they are going to have a lot of fun with his powers. And he battles against this swordsman in this episode, which has some of the coolest choreography that I've seen. And I love that he's able to defeat this guy by tricking him, by having all of these knives just explode up into the sky, just to act as a distraction so he can get directly behind him and cut him in the back. This, combined with a lot of the hand-to-hand combat and weapon fighting that we saw in this episode, was just glorious. It's the only way that I can put it, and it manages to look consistent and smooth throughout the entire episode. And honestly, that's one of the best things about Tower of God, is simply its consistency. Every single episode has not only looked really good and clean, but has continued to look that way the entire time. But let's go ahead and get to the part of the episode that I know everybody's going to be talking about and gushing over, the moment where suddenly Bam unleashes his true power. So we go back to that one chick who's wearing the skin-tight suit and is attacking Rachel. She actually ends up getting hurt, and this is when Bam decides to remove the crown, jump off the throne, which seems like a pretty stupid idea to be perfectly honest, and it does end up having some massive repercussions, but he tries to protect Rachel and ends up getting smacked in the head by this girl's staff, which suddenly unlocks all of his power. This is when all of a sudden, I think the power of the Black March is unleashed. Either that, or Bam is quite literally using some sort of crazy, unrestrained version of Shinsu that we've never seen in the series before. Suddenly, his entire body is enveloped by this golden light, which shoots up into the sky, causing massive damage to that girl with the mask, not only ripping it off and destroying it, but also basically blinding her and taking out her right eye. We get to see the full extent of this damage at the end of the episode, and it's incredibly devastating. It reveals, actually, that she's a human as well, or at least I believe that she's a human, some girl with red hair. But the point is, this is a huge scene. We've already seen Shinsu a number of times in the series, but never quite the way that it's actually displayed in this scene right here. And the fact that it's golden, again, just shows that there's something special about Bam and his connection with Black March. We even get to see that, like, that sort of, like, form, the spiritual form of the Black March makes its appearance in this episode, having the ability to freeze time and also communicate with Bam directly. Now, in the last episode of the series, we learned that these 13-month series have the ability to sort of ignite. It's like sort of like a brand new power that they can use, and this very well could have been the ignited form of the Black March, or later on in the episode they actually talk about the fact that this is actually Bam not just using Shinsu, but quite literally becoming it altogether, his entire body becoming this massive destructive light. And wow, what a scene it actually is, and it's just the perfect punctuation point to all of the amazing action that's displayed in this episode. So after that, we get to learn that even though this crown game was going to give all of these teams an opportunity to just go ahead and skip right to climbing the tower, because the crown was destroyed, nobody's gonna pass the test. That's just the way it's gonna be. This was just an excuse to see a lot of really cool action, and frankly, I'm okay with that. And I'm really excited because I want to see what these other tests are actually going to be like. A part of me was like, yeah, the team's probably gonna pass and they're gonna move on, but I really wanted to see what these other tests are gonna be because they get more interesting as it goes on, and thankfully, it looks like I'm actually going to get all of that. So, Bam somehow survives this crazy event. He is going to be knocked out for a couple of days. Lara Rowe decides that he's actually going to give all of the teams a 3-day break before they move on to the next part of the test. And that's when we finally get to see a little bit more of the story in the background moving in a really interesting way. So, Lara Rowe and Han Song-yu end up having this really interesting conversation, which is very strange to say the least. It's very obvious that there's some sort of discord amongst all of these people who are regulating these tests, and Lara Rowe has his very own thoughts as well. He's curious as to why he was put in charge of the crown game, and Han Song-yu is also sort of leading him on and telling him about the fact that there's rarely been people who've been able to sort of manifest Shinsu in that fashion without at least the help of an administrator, as he actually puts it. He says that there was only really one other person that really comes to mind, a character by the name of Urek Mazino, who makes kind of an appearance in this episode, and I don't know what the deal with this dude is. He's got some weird freaking tats all across his chest, and he just looks really badass from what I've actually seen in this episode. The fact that they're building up a character like that and keeping him mysterious leads me to believe he's probably going to be pretty important to the series. But this is when Lerro realizes, after talking to Han Song-yu, that Bam might actually have the power to destroy the tower itself, which could end up being a really bad thing for the future of how this world works, or maybe a good thing. All of this stuff is kept intentionally shady and mysterious, and again, I think it's good storytelling and it's a great hook to continue to get people to watch the show. We even return to the character of Princess Yuri, who has a number of brand new comrades that we never saw before, as they're looking like they're wanting to go and see Bam themselves. I mean, clearly Yuri has some sort of like weird connection with this character, and I'm not, again, sure really what it is going to be at the end of the day, but it's intriguing as all hell, I really have to say. And the episode ends with a fantastic cliffhanger ending, getting to see that while Bam is knocked out and still recovering from transforming into a giant Super Saiyan Shinsu, we get to see that Rachel is going to visit him. And I don't know what the deal is with Rachel. I can't read her at all. Is she good? Is she bad? What's her true intention? What's the deal with her team? Why didn't we get to see that one big dude do anything aside from stand around and look cool? Intriguing minds want to know, and I want to know why they're brought in to be a part of this group, especially because, again, in the conversation with Lerro and Han Song-yu, they mentioned that you're not allowed to have acquaintances like in the same test. Well, Bam and Rachel are definitely acquaintances, so there's something really mysterious going on right here, and I can't wait to see what it's going to be. Otherwise, what's the rundown on this episode of Tower of God? This was a fantastic episode right here, which had some really great action. I've said it so many times in the past of my other anime reviews that I love action anime, and I really can appreciate it when it looks really good, especially with good animation and fighting choreography. And this episode right here poured it on like freaking syrup on pancakes, guys. It just freaking worked. And again, the biggest strength of the show is its ability to have such a diverse and amazing cast. And again, this episode just let it explode off the screen. It just did it with its visuals. It told a lot of its story simply through its animation, and that's how this medium works, and that's why it's loved so well. And that's why I loved this episode. I especially loved the story beats at the end here, but honestly, I was just gushing the entire time over all of the amazing action which was happening in this episode. I had so many favorite scenes. I really loved that moment where Kun was fighting against that guy with his bag and using the swords. I just thought that looked really freaking good. I loved that one mysterious girl with the mask and the skin-tight suit. They've been showing her a number of times since the beginning of the tests actually started, and I felt that maybe she was just going to be one of those background characters, but this episode made it seem like she's a little more important. Just the fact that she can go up against a member of Rachel's team really well, and just the fact that she damaged Rachel, and that there's the big moment where she was attacked and her eye got damaged. Like, there's clearly something important to her, and the fact that her identity is mysterious. And again, I just want to know more. I just want to see what her deal is going to be. Rak was also great in this episode. We finally got to see more of him fighting, which isn't a very flashy fighting style. It's basically just him being a giant monster with a spear. But still, he's still incredibly fun to watch, and watching him just sort of bat opponents away is really freaking exciting. And again, he also has great expressions in this episode. I still think he's one of the funniest characters, maybe inadvertently. He doesn't want to be portrayed as someone who's funny, but he just absolutely is every single time that he is on screen. And then the moment with Bam, where he just transforms into Golden Shinsu. That was a big moment for the series. It was good to finally see Bam do something, even though it looked like a lot of it was out of control. It's kind of like how the Spirit of the Black March actually said he sort of lost control over all of his power, and that's what caused all of that Golden Shinsu to just like shoot up into the ceiling. Like, I don't know, that was just a really crazy moment. The music made it really, really epic. Just everything worked so damn well in that scene, man. I really loved it. It's amazing how just a couple of weeks ago I knew nothing about Tower of God, and now I'm like a huge super fan of the series. I'm still going to continue to just watch the anime version, though. I don't want to look at the webtoon, if only for... I don't want to look at fear of spoilers. That's just the way it is. I love watching the series unfold and not knowing what's going to happen, especially the way that they just keep sort of introducing characters like this Urek Mizano character. Like, I can't wait to see what his deal is going to be. Like, it's very clear that he's going to be some sort of super-powered badass, and for him to be able to use, like, the power of Shinsu, possibly, like, the way that Bam used it, I can't wait to see how he's going to be formally introduced into the story. I know that we're moving pretty close to the next major test here, which is going to involve a character who goes by the name, I believe, of Evan Kell. It looks like that's where Yuri and her team were actually heading, and I think that's where they're actually going to be going next. So, yeah, just so much to love about this episode right here. It had pretty much everything that you would want from the series. A great combination of action and drama, a little bit of comedy, not to mention a lot of the mysteriousness that's going on with all of the administrators and the rankers. There's just a lot to love about this episode of Tower of God. I wholly recommend it if you've been following the series. I'm dropping a 5 out of 5 on this one right here, guys. I absolutely loved it. But you heard my thoughts. I want to hear yours. Let's discuss this episode in the comments section below. Every aspect of it, your favorite action scenes, your favorite characters, your favorite moments, your theories on what's going to happen in the future of the series, that tense conversation between Leraro and Han Song-yu, the introduction of a mysterious character, Urek Mizano. What do you want to see from the future? Let's discuss it all. Comment section below. Thank you guys so much for watching this review. Please subscribe to the channel for more videos just like this one. Use your golden powered Shinsu and hit that like button right now. I would really appreciate it. And make sure to check out my Patreon account in the description box below. If you guys make a small donation, I will review an anime series of your choice. I just released a recent Patreon review on Katekyo Hitman Reborn. I'm working on 2 others as we speak, so make sure to stay tuned for all of those. Otherwise, best way to support this channel is to continue watching these videos and sharing them with your friends, and I can't thank you guys enough for that. So thank you guys again for watching. I'll see you all next time. And as always, stay down there, baby.